once they get in good ball over Queensland's 40, the way Isaiah and Nathan and Dylan Edwards play at Clubland is Isaiah and Nathan pretty much patrol everywhere. They split up. Dylan Edwards on the right, and I'll split Mitchell Moses here. Isaiah will play to Nathan, who'll play on the right to Dylan. They'll come to the left, they'll play Isaiah.
Welcome to another week of Immortal Behaviour. Thanks to our mates at Tab. How are you going, Joey?
I'm good.
Good?
Really good.
Anzac footy.
I got tonight off.
Ooh.
Not going to Brisbane, so.
Happy to not be in Brizzy, but it's going to be a cracking game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Actually, the more I think of it, I think Brisbane are a chance.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though the Dogs are flying high?
Yeah, I just think they're a chance up there.
Is that the game you're looking most forward to this weekend?
No, Anzac Day, Roosters, Dragons. Can't wait.
It'll be unreal, won't it? Listen, I sent James Bracey a screenshot this morning with the caption, I wonder how many of these you'll get today, but the Bears are back. Have you spoken to him?
No.
Could you imagine the state of
I
Brace
can
this morning?
He'd be he would be excited, Brace.
Oh my
so,
gosh.
It's big news. But it was a bit of a standoff between the NRL or ARL Commission and the government. So I think they've upped the bid, maybe.
So what happened was the NRL Commission has agreed to terms with the WA government to bring back the Bears. They're coming in 2027.
So originally they offered 30 odd million, and I think they upped it to 50 million. Is that right? I don't know where I've pulled those figures. But anyway, yeah, it's good news.
Great news.
Good news. Trip across the Nullarbor, get that red eye home.
The red eye is the absolute worst. Do you think this was realistically the most logistical move that made sense for the NRL to go to next?
No, for mine would have been New Zealand, the South Island, which we'll get to later. But there's a lot of money over there, a lot of expats, big Polynesian community, a lot of Kiwis, big South African community over there. Which they'd love the physicality of rugby league. I don't know the Western Force. Are they still going?
Sport, yeah, they are. Sport over there, they get unreal crowds because it's few and far between. So I think even just in terms of filling out the stadium, like it'll be unreal for the Bears
to get out there. Because the West Coast Eagles aren't going well, are they?
No, I don't
They're down
think
the bottom.
Force are going pretty good though. But yeah.
Okay. Well, the next challenge is to develop enough players, quality players, NRL quality players, to fill in the two teams that are coming in the next 3 or 4 years. So that's the challenge. How do we get more kids playing and staying?
Yeah. Well, I think being over there, that'll help grow the junior nursery for rugby league anyway. What about on the Bears? Have you got a player that you used to love playing with or against on the Bears?
Ben Ikin used to be fun before he became a nerd. He was real. I actually remember Benny Ikin one tour with
Fun
Australia.
in what way?
Well, he used to like a drink. I think he hasn't had a drink for 10 or 15 years, and now he's Captain Sensible, corporate Benny. But he used to be fun. Billy Moore was always fun. I toured with Billy in '95. Matt Sears was very fun.
I feel like there's something more to that.
Try to stay away from Searsy sometimes. But
you tried to stay away from him?
Me and Searsy played juniors for New South Wales under 19s together and then sort of came through. He actually beat me for Rookie of the Year. Well on Searsy.
Never forgotten.
Yeah, that was some fun times.
You spoke about the second side coming in, PNG. They're coming in 2028.
Yep.
You excited about that news?
Yeah, very much so. It's the only country in the world where rugby league's the #1 sport. I think the Australian schoolboys drew with the Papua New Guinea schoolboys last year. So the infrastructure's there, they've got the stadium. It's just going to be a challenge. If they can get the Australian players up there, I think that the model would be to get the best young players, in particular in the key positions, or get older players, tax-free, money talks. Yeah.
It'll work.
It might take a while, but who knows, the next superstar, maybe the best player in the comp, could be coming out of PNG in 5, 6, 10 years' time. It's exciting.
And even as you said, to grow that competition over there, all they need is one of those older players. Say for instance, it was a DCE. The last couple of years, you go over here, here's this lump sum tax-free money. You train up the next young seven coming from PNG. Like, imagine that.
Like a couple of years ago, imagine if they got Isaiah Katoa or Mitch Woods, the young halfback coming through at the Bulldogs. Anyway, good luck.
Peter V'landys has said that he obviously wants to get to a 20-team competition. Who would you like to see? Someone from a New Zealand
the
side?
South Island for me it's a no-brainer down at Christchurch. They've got that big stadium. It's under a roof too. Well, the Knights are playing the Warriors this week there. Training
In
facilities.
Dunedin, you mean?
No, or is it Dunedin? Sunday.
Maybe.
No,
Christchurch,
It
yeah.
is Christchurch.
So they got the Crusaders there. So they got
Yep.
the training facilities. I don't know whether the NRL would share it with the Crusaders.
That'd be cool.
Big schoolboy numbers in rugby union. I think there's a little bit of rugby league. So
I think rugby league's well and truly picked back up over there.
then you got Big Brother, North Island, South Island.
Yeah.
Sport's about rivalry. So for me, it's an absolute no-brainer. I think there's two consortiums trying to get the licence over there. For the good of the game, just come together.
Sort it out.
Yeah, sort it out.
Sort it out.
Yeah.
Back on the Bears. Do you know that you never lost a game playing against the Bears?
I didn't know that. Did not.
Seven. So you had 7 wins
Yeah.
and a draw against the Bears. That's a fairly solid record. Do you remember playing at North Sydney Oval?
Yeah.
What was it like?
Awful cricket pitch.
How did it?
You had a head slam there. So you just pretty much play down the corridors to get away from that pitch, because once you got on there, you couldn't change direction. And you used to go. They used to talk about it in the game plan: get them, hold them high, slam their head into the ground. Rugby league.
Rugby league, we
Yeah.
love it. Do you think that the North Sydney Bears at some point will
Yeah.
choose to play there?
100%.
How good would that be?
100%. I reckon they'll play maybe two games there. It'll be huge. They'll pack it out.
James
what it holds,
Bracey
but-
front and centre.
Oh, can you
He'll even
imagine?
make it. I reckon he'd make a flag at
Those
home or a
teeth
sign.
will be that long. Those teeth are that long anyway.
Just dribbling.
Yeah, saber tooth.
Let's move on a little bit. Leichhardt Oval on Sunday.
Oh, sorry. The other one, Josh Stewart,
Oh, the other Bears player.
Bears player. Nathan Cleary's brother, uncle, maybe.
don't know,
He's
wouldn't
married to
Yeah.
one of them. They're all. Jason Death, who played, he's married into that family somewhere. It's quite, yeah. Josh, very fun.
Why, Josh? Why are the eyebrows going up?
Well, he's just completely insane. MAD. He was a bit like Adrian Morley. When he tackled, his target area was from the collarbone to the Adam's apple.
That would have gone well
Yeah.
at North Sydney Oval. So Sunday footy, the Sharks are taking on the Tigers. Lockie Galvin's being called back into the side. What do you think his reception will be like?
No idea. No idea.
It'd be
Well, it's
tricky
that-
to have that
it's
first
that-
game at Leichhardt,
It's
wouldn't
that carnival atmosphere, and everyone's in a good mood. Everyone comes down Mary Street from the pub, so they'll be well hydrated. I really don't know. I think some will cheer him, some will boo him.
It's also one of those
I tell
footy
ya.
fields that they're close.
By half time, if he's putting a clinic on, they'll be standing and applaud. Winning makes people's memories quite short, so it'll be interesting.
Were you surprised that Benji roped him back in this week? It was
Yeah.
pretty early.
I thought he'd be gone by now. I thought he'd be gone to another club. So, well done to Shane Richardson, the way he's handled. I've got to say Benji, the way he's handled this. So now, senior players and Lockie sorted out, which
Senior
hopefully
players?
they have.
So do you think they have a responsibility on Sunday to say, look, let's leave the crap aside. We've got a job to do. We've got a game to
Well,
win.
everyone does.
Yeah.
Lockie does. I think Lockie probably would maybe apologise to the team because the way that his camp has sort of heaped the pressure on Benji, I just think it's out of line. So, yeah, they've all got to come together. Get in a room, sort it out, go out and play
You
footy.
have to think that something would have happened like that
Yeah,
by
for
now.
sure.
All right, Joey, let's get your crystal ball out. It's time for your big call of the week,
Yeah.
thanks to Tab. What have you got?
I got two. I think Anzac Day at Allianz, I really like the Dragons. I think they can win. They've won 2 in a row. I think they can win 3 in a row. And the other one is the Tigers on Sunday at Leichhardt. I really like the Tigers. I thought Cronulla last week was solid against Newcastle. And with 20 minutes to go, I thought they should have they had Newcastle down. They should have put the foot on the throat and probably put 40 or 50 on Newcastle. So I think the Tiger. I really like those two. I really like the Dragons.
Can I ask you why the Dragons? Because I think anyone doing their tips this week, that's a tough game to tip. Obviously, they're playing good footy, but why specifically the Dragons?
I think defensively they've been a little bit vulnerable on the edge. Well, this week they got Sandon Smith and Hugo Savala there. no team are more powerful and big out wide. You got Valentine Holmes at the moment, it's just on top of his game. And he's got Luciano Leilua there. And then on the right, you've got Moses Suli. He's 115 kilos. Big edges. I think they'll bully the Roosters. There'll be nothing in it, but I think they can get home the Dragons.
You're right. If you can, we're going to talk New South Wales halves, but I want you to put on your full-blown Nerdburger footy head hat at the moment.
Yep, it's always
got
on.
that. Yep. Screw it in. Tell me why Gus is wrong in saying that it cannot be Nathan Cleary and Mitch Moses together in the halves for Origin.
Well, I was Nathan and Luai, but then on the weekend it just totally changed. I understand last year before the series, Nathan and Mitchell met with Madge, Michael Maguire, and they talked about how they're going to play. And Mitchell put his ego aside and said, "I'll play second fiddle," which really surprises me because of the personality of Mitchell Moses. But I think they can really get it right. I think those two. Moses just looks like he's in total charge of his game in every facet. And I think if he's put his ego aside, I think he can play that second fiddle with Nathan pretty much playing on the ball.
So am I right in assuming you're saying Mitch Moses because, not that there's anything against Jerome Luai,
no.
it's more just the influence that Mitch Moses has had?
Yep.
Can you explain why? If you were going to
Okay.
orchestrate their entire attacking plan, how would you do it?
You can't even see that.
You can't see it.
Anyway, once they get in good ball over Queensland's 40, the way Isaiah Yeo and Nathan and Dylan Edwards play at Clubland is Isaiah Yeo and Nathan pretty much patrol everywhere. They split up Dylan Edwards on the right and they'll split Mitchell Moses here. Isaiah Yeo will play to Nathan, who will play on the right to Dylan. If they come to the left, they'll play Isaiah Yeo, Nathan to Mitchell. The only thing changes when they go outside and they go towards the sideline, 10 metres or 20 metres in. That's when the halves will stand up and play together to play to Dylan Edwards. So if they come over to the left side, right near the sideline, 10 metres in or even 20, Mitch Moses will stand up, he'll play to Nathan, and Nathan will play to Dylan Edwards. If they go right to the sideline on the right, Nathan will stand up, play to Moses, play to Dylan.
Do you think that that's how they will play, or that's how you want to play?
I think
so
they'll
in
play.
Comparison,
I think they'll play. If they have Yeo and Nathan
why
together.
is Yeo such an important factor in the way that the halves work with
Well,
one
he
another?
creates that overlap. He's that link in the middle of the field. And just have to be careful. That attack style doesn't really trouble Queensland, but if they have go forward and how familiar they are with it, but that's how pretty much they played at Penrith, and we've had great success of that. But if they're going to play that style, it pretty much is Mitchell Moses. Just he stays pretty much from the left sideline to the right upright. That's as far as he goes to the right. When Nathan's pretty much goes from the right sideline right over to the scrum line, which is 20 metres in from the left.
So you're saying that it does matter who has 7 on their back? Because
No, it matters. It matters who's got 13.
Right.
So if Yo's there, then Nathan, they got that style of play which they play at Penrith, which is dangerous.
So let's throw in a hypothetical.
But the key is there, Mitchell. If any of those players go outside the structure, if they go rogue, especially Mitchell or Dylan Edwards, then everything breaks down. So everyone's got to be on the same page, which by all accounts Mitch Moses has said he's willing to do. The only thing there is Luai's got the left foot kick, takes pressure off Moses or Nathan, whoever's going to play halfback, and Jerome's a left side run threat, left foot, bit unstructured play. But Mitchell's passing game is probably superior to Jerome. So and on that left side, if fully fit, you're going to have Angus and Luttrell, which last year, game 2 in Melbourne, no one could tackle both of them. So, look, neck and neck. Look, last week I had Jerome locked in at 5'8", but after what I saw of Moses, he's got to be 6.
I've got 5 questions running through my head that I want to ask you and
Fire
just pick
away.
your brain because I love this. But also, just before we do, how good that we've got these options as New South Wales.
I know.
Isn't it insane?
Yeah.
I genuinely can't remember the
Especially
last
with
time that we have.
Harry Grant out.
It's wild. It's insane. Okay, so a hypothetical, the first one that popped into my head, Isaiah Yeo. He's obviously such a key in the way that this plays out. What if, and obviously I hope it doesn't, either A is not our starting lock or something happens and he has to leave the field. Does that style have to change?
I'm just trying to think. Cam Murray. Cam Murray sort of plays that role. He's out with that Achilles. Off the top of my head, who else could play lock?
Well, if it was how we maybe assume Connor Watson would come on off the bench.
Oh yeah. Well, if Connor's there, Connor doesn't. He doesn't play that link role in the 13. So then it totally changes. And without being too technical, where the posts are, you sort of play 5 metres either side of the post, which gives you 6 defenders on the long side, 4 defenders, and they play a flatter style where Nathan and Mitch Moses go pretty much everywhere.
Okay.
So they play 6-4 splits either side, and Dylan sort of getting with his edges, but either side. So the halves play between the scrum lines, either 20 the side, and the fullback sort of swings and
do you think that 6-4 split in the way that they play that, do you think that either preferences Jerome or Mitch, or both of them can play that role just fine?
Both play that role.
Yeah.
Just trying to think about, because Mitch doesn't get to the left too often with Para because Dylan Brown's there. Anyway, my head's about.
But then also, because I was also thinking in terms of an Origin game and how fast it is.
I'm just trying to think.
Mitch doesn't have the left foot kick. Latrell's there.
Yeah, Latrell's there.
Would we back his kicking game on the left?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if they needed a quick one, even if it was to get out of trouble, and there was that pressure from marker, he could rip a big one.
Who was the other lock if Isaiah Yeo's not there? So Cam Murray played pretty much last year, and then the year before Game 3 when they won, Isaiah Yeo played like a front row. Anyway,
it wasn't
Victor Radley.
Oh, Victor, there you go.
Victor's a pom. Sort it out.
And it wouldn't have been
International
Jake.
footy, let's sort it out.
Anyway, let's also hope
it's
that
exciting.
Isaiah
As you
goes
said,
there.
we got
It's
options
unreal,
in New
isn't it?
South Wales.
It's the best.
Yep.
While we're talking Moses, how impressive was he in terms of the way that he changed the game?
Masterclass. He's just, said before, he's in total control of the way he plays. He's in total control of the way the team plays. And he's that dominant voice, dominant player, dominant presence. He unlocked everyone. Dylan Brown looked a different player, playing, the backup singer. He unlocked the outside backs. The forwards look so dangerous because he's telling them where to go. You don't want your big men thinking that much. And they feel comfort when the halfbacks barking at them, telling them where to run. They don't have to think. Run here. You come back here. We're going here. So
just makes sense.
It was a masterclass. His kicking was a masterclass. That 40-20 was special. The best play was the kick on play 0 for Simonson. I was out of it at home, standing up clapping.
It was so good, wasn't it? Does that also, the influence and the way that the team worked well around him, but you mentioned Dylan Brown, he had a blinder. He played so much better with Mitch there. Does that further prove to you that he is a 6 and not a halfback? I know this is tough because he's going to Newcastle, but what's your read on that?
Depends how they're going to play at Newcastle. Who's their lock at Newcastle?
This week?
Adam Elliott. So Adam Elliott doesn't really play that link role. Isaiah Yeo does. We saw their best victory of the year. Kalen played first receiver, and whether they split Dylan Brown on the left and Fletcher Sharp on the right and let KP link with them, I don't know. I've heard the expression hybrid halfback. I don't know what that means. But there's going to take a lot of time in the off-season, and they need to be clear from day one at training, and they need to be clear, here's our 7, here's our 6, here's our 9, here's our fullback. Lock those 4 players in, and they don't change. Let them train all off-season and know how you're going to play. They've got to know absolutely clear as clear that first day of training, this is how we're playing. So we'll see.
That was a bit of a sit on the fence response. Do
Very
you think
much
he
so.
can play the halfback at Newcastle, or are they going to have to do it differently as a team?
Not a dominant halfback, and we saw the state at the start of the year. It's not Dylan's nature. Dylan is a left side centric player. He doesn't really get to the right too often. He's not that dominant voice. So it depends how they play. They've got to work out how they're going to play. There's talk that Fletcher Sharp will wear the 7, which Fletcher Sharp's an instinctive player, great support player, but I haven't seen Fletcher kick that much, especially under pressure, under fatigue. It's interesting how they're going to fit Dylan Brown in and how they're going to play, because he is not a Nathan Cleary or a Mitchell Moses, a dominant halfback who goes everywhere and pretty much plays first receiver and does all the kicking.
Speaking of Newcastle halves, it was just announced yesterday that Jessie Southwell has got herself the number 7 jersey for State of Origin. You've been a big fan of Jessie's for a few years now, but does that excite you?
Yeah, very much so. And I've got to remember, Jess is only young.
She's a kid.
19, 20.
Yeah, she's a kid.
I really love Jess, how much she loves the game during the off season. Obviously, I haven't worked with Newcastle now for 18 months, but she was coming down. We're working on a kicking game. The kicking game in the off season really improved.
Oh, can you please get into camp? Because I actually think we've got 7 days until Women's State of Origin next week, and I think the kicking game for New South Wales for the women.
So can this be an old school camp?
Can you get in there? No. I reckon it'll be one of the deciding factors.
Well, the kicking game, that's the area of the women's game which really needs to improve, which has improved.
Yep.
And I think coming through, if you look at pretty much all the women playing, a lot of their sport growing up would have been netball, touch footy, which is hand-eye. There's not much kicking. So that's an area of the game which needs to really improve. And I've got to say, the sessions I did with Jess in the off-season, the kicking really improved. So in big games, it's the job of the halfback, especially in Origin, get your kicking game on. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing how Jess goes.
Is that what you love most about her game?
I just love how much she loves the game.
Yeah.
I love the angles in which she can move, especially off that right foot, without giving too much away. The angles really sharp and powerful. So, strength of hers is the running game. When she gets close to the line, she can dig in, and especially with that right foot step. But big challenge is going to be the dominant voice. It's, very young to come in. It can be difficult as a halfback, bossing the older players around. But a kick game. Well,
the coach has come out and given her all sorts of confidence by picking her. He's made a few pretty bold selections and said, no, I'm coming in. This is John Strange. This is a new look Origin side. I'm going to shake things up a little bit.
Penatani's playing 5'8".
She's playing 5'8", who isn't a naturally known kicker.
Should be a run threat.
Yeah, exactly.
And fullback?
It's exciting. Abby Church.
Okay.
Unreal. I love it. I think she was hands down the best fullback in the competition.
So once again, interesting how they're going to play, whether they split the halves, the 5'8" and the fullback, and let Jessie play first receiver. But if Penatani's a real run threat, it doesn't have to complicate a game. If you see space, run. I think in New South Wales, the best 5'8s I played with, well, there was 4 of them: Laurie Daly, Brad Fittler, Trent Barrett and Braithen Astor, all big bodies running. They'd call plays, big plays. I go, yeah, I'd throw it that far out in front of them. They'd have to run onto it and run the ball.
Keep going.
Just keep running, and then big fat ass would come around and swing around the play. But I'd hear the plays, yeah. That far out in front, they'd have to run onto it, and they'd run. Of course, they're big bodies and footwork. Quick play of the ball, whip around. Throw it out in front, Jess. Don't let them pass.
I'll be filthy with you if this time next week you haven't picked up the phone and called Jessie.
Oh,
can you please do it?
I'm not going into camp.
Please. No, you don't have to go into camp, but just
talk
through a couple of things.
I'll call her for sure.
Give her a buzz. Please give her a buzz.
She'll be ready to go.
Up the Blues. It is a huge week for women's footy next week on Wednesday. The women's doco airs at 8:30 p.m. and then we've got a State of Origin preview for the women's game, which is kicking off Magic Round on Thursday night. Actually cannot wait for that. It'll be unreal.
Well, hopefully we get a full house.
Oh yeah, it'll be outstanding.
We need eyeballs on TV. We need full houses to get sponsorship, to get this and that, so the players can go from semi-professional to full-time professional, because professional sport's all about percentage of revenue. Once they do that, the women's game has gone like that. Once they become professional, it'll be up here. And I actually say in the doco, it's pure footy. It is great to watch. And it's not tokenism at all, because it's so good to watch. So good to watch. So,
well, we got over 1 million views last year, which has just knocked everything out of the park. So fingers crossed we double that this year. Can't wait.
And New South Wales win.
Game 3 in Newcastle.
Game 3 in Newcastle, and Magic Round for the women in Newcastle.
There's a few big games coming up in
Newcastle Origin.
It makes sense, doesn't
That'll be a sellout for sure. Especially Newcastle went back to back. few years ago.
Yeah, they did. The women's
So
team.
there's great support there. But once again, mums, grandmothers, daughters, cousins, get out and watch. We need as many women as possible there watching. Once again, eyeballs on TV, full houses. Once they get professional, then look out.
Let's go. Do you reckon our girls will play footy one day?
No.
Neither.
No.
But look, if they want to, they can.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thanks, guys, for joining us for another week of Immortal Behaviour. We'll see you next week.